Hello and welcome back to today's video. This one will be looking at the Magic Well store and mainly looking at the items, as a lot of you have been leaving comments about what are the best ones to go for. Some of you also want to know what other things you can actually get from the Magic Well store, or at least what are worth it, so I'm going to be going through that as well. I'm sorry about my voice, it's even worse than it was before, but I wanted to try and get you this video out today. Now I must say that most of these items from the store are going to be very good items. A lot of them, if not all of them, are an event standard, which means they're all going to be good to go for. But a lot of them are very specific on what your needs are, so I'll go through some of my top picks and then I'll explain to you why they're my top picks. So one of the questions was asking between the artifact and the Knight's Fortune plate mail. So looking at the artifact, this one will be good to go for if you are lacking in artifacts. This artifact is going to be really good for dealing damage. You'll be hitting up to 3 enemies with a good amount of damage, and at the same time you'll be stunning these enemies as well. I personally go for this if you want to improve your PvPs or like your gem base, but the area that would actually get the least benefit from this is actually doing the clan bosses. So if you're a person that particularly does that, then this item wouldn't be helping you out too much in that regard. Now if we look at the tank armor, this item actually deals way more damage, especially if you're throwing them 11. Once in a while, the unit starts stealing physical armor from 3 random enemies for 6 seconds. The owner of the armor steals 10% armor for each second. Now this is where the damage actually starts to come through. For every 5,000 armor stolen, an explosion occurs, dealing physical damage to all nearby enemies. This basically means they'll only be affecting tanks unless you teleported them to the back, but this is still going to be a good item to go for. The damage is equal to 300% of the unit's physical armor. Now for myself, my 2 main tanks have 40,000 armor each, and even my archer tank has over 65,000. So let's just say argumentative that you've been stealing armor, or your person's already at 40,000 armor, this actual ability will be dealing 160,000 damage. That is an insane amount of damage to have for a tank just because they're stealing armor, and obviously the higher it is and when you're stealing it, the more damage you're going to deal. So this item will be very good if you're looking to get your tanks to be dealing more damage. Another item that's good for dealing damage for your tanks is going to be the Knight's Valor Poleaxe. If you already feel your tanks are tanky enough and you just want them to deal more damage, then this item could be good to go for. Once in a while, the unit throws an axe at a random enemy of each class, and the axes deal for 85,000 physical damage. This also stuns them for 2.5 seconds, which is great, and basically when it says each class, it means it's going to hit a tank, archer and mage. So this is going to be great for damage and stunning. I love the abilities that add to the stun because that is actually what wins the fights over a long period of time, so this is again a good item to go for. But now let's say you actually want to go for the Conqueror set. Now this is one of the newest sets that has the ability to ricochet his attacks, so this is where this crossbow really comes into its own. Once in a while, the unit shoots at 3 enemies at the same time, dealing 60,000 physical damage. Now before you read any of the other part, which is again basically about stunning, you're going to be shooting at 3 random enemies, and obviously these shots can ricochet because the ability can actually just allow the unit's attacks to ricochet, so there's going to be so much damage being spread about if you get this item for the Conqueror set. Obviously you might not have that set at the moment, but just keep that in mind if you wanted them in the future. If for example you know your Dragonborn's going to stay alive, then going for the Knight's Honor Ring is going to be a great choice for you. Anyone at the late stage will have someone over 100,000 damage, so you'll be stealing 33,000 of that damage for 6 seconds and giving it to the ring owner. So if that went to the Dragonborn, again you're looking at some crazy amount of damage. But it's not always so simple to keep someone alive. Maybe you want a mage or a tank to stay alive, then the Knight's Loyalty Amulet is going to be a great choice. At least with the basic stats, this can be used on everyone that you want to tank up, and increasing their max health by 50% and their health regeneration is just a great choice to go for. So there's so many choices to go for, but I'm just naming the specific reasons why you might want certain ones. Now between the 2 totems, one's for damage and one's for protection. The Knight totem is going to be for damage, and this one is still a good choice to go for. So if you're at the beginning of throwing 10 or 11, then I think the Knight totem is actually the better choice. This deals 75,000 pure damage to 3 enemies, and it blinds them for 2 seconds. Now the blinded effect isn't what I would be going for, it's just for the pure damage that deals to 3 enemies. But now let's say that your max healths are much higher and there's a lot more stuns going about, then if you want a particular person to stay alive, then I would go for the Sentinel totem. This removes all movement restricting effects like a stun, freeze and petrification, and makes them immune to them for 3 more seconds. They also gain 120,000 health, so again this one's for keeping someone alive at the late game stage. So that's all the items this time around. I'm not sure if this is going to be a weekly thing. I would imagine it'd be every couple of months to make it more of a monumental moment, but at the same time these are all going to be great choices to go for. They're just very specific to what you need. Now as we scroll down, I'm just going to be quick about this because I would like to make a proper guide about this store, but for now I'm just going to show you some of the worst choices to go for and some things to really consider. Firstly, this whole section for resources for your castle should be ignored. Every other area of the game is to actually improve yourself, whereas most of these are just for a temporary bonus. Whether you want the gold for 4.4 million, yes it sounds like a lot, but that really doesn't go very far if you're upgrading legendary gems, and for 3,200 magic energy that's not a good value. You could say, well, maybe the mithril chest, but for 5,000 energy for only 100,000, that's again a really poor value. So most of these I would just ignore for the resource tab and go for other things that are for the late game stage. Manuscripts are actually a very good choice to be going for. I would personally go for the legendary 1,600 chest if you can, and then work your way down from there. Now you can buy an unlimited amount of the very beginning chest for 400, but as you can see it gives you plenty of common manuscripts if you need to get your team up and running, and literally just getting one of them is going to be a great start. But as soon as you need to get the higher rarity ones, you will need to go and pay for more and more higher ones. But the only way to get legendary is using the 1,600, and as anyone knows that's trying to upgrade their manuscripts, you need to get legendaries as soon as you can, so I would try and save for that one first before buying other things. You have got these essences along the way, but personally I wouldn't go for any of these unless one of these people that you want is through the expeditions. You could save up for the Dawn Feather because the Eclipse set is such a good set to go for, and doing the expeditions really sucks right now, and I don't think they'll be changing anytime soon, so 8,000 kind of makes that value worth it just because the expeditions suck. Simply as that. Now for tomes, I personally would try and save for the legendary books if you need to improve your alliances. For 2,200 that's actually a pretty good value, especially when you consider the dungeon costs over 500,000 just to get a particular book, so again that's a good value proposition. The spirits are a little bit over expensive, but this obviously is again good for totems as they do have some good bonuses, but I wouldn't be trying to save for these unless you have an event totem to save for. 5,000 for only 100 really isn't a great value. I think if they were all half the amount that would make some sort of sense, but for now I would just leave those and spend on other things. Elixirs are going to be a great choice to go for. Again, they're a little bit expensive, but with these are things that are going to improve your whole team. And not only that, elixirs have a very high ceiling of where you want to improve them to. For example, if you look at my Dragonborn, you can get up to 165,000 max health, so that is huge if you can get that on every single person. You can get 10,000 dodge, fortitude, and all different things like that, but these bonuses you will want to max out as quickly as you can because these stats are obviously good for everything within the game. So even though the elixirs are a bit expensive, they do have a good value proposition for the rest of the game. There are things like these ancient gems which you could save for, but I really think they've put the value out of reach for most players. I think you would need to complete almost every tab. I haven't actually done the count yet because like I said, when I do the proper guide I'll be able to do that, but I think this is mainly going to for people that already spend diamonds, that try and grind every part of the game. Do I think it's worth it? Probably, but that's just because of the late game stage you could really drag this out and go for these particular items, but at the same time I would much rather get event items temporarily and improve my team that way rather than go for a single gem. I wouldn't personally go for the legendary gems for again the same reason. I'd rather have the event items or elixirs or manuscripts and go for these items next once the others are complete. At least at the very bottom, if you do want to improve your hero, then going for the times 50 bonus is actually going to be a great choice. Not only is this a great choice for people that need relic fragments, but this can actually be really good for people that want to increase their star rating, because as you may already know, if you get a relic that is actually for a completed relic, like you've actually completely finished it off, then you start to get your constellations back, meaning you can spend more on everything else. So going for this times 50, I would try and work towards that as many times as you can if you don't particularly like any of the event items and want to improve your hero. You've also got a materials chest as you can see in the bottom right. Now I don't think this is worth going for 2,800 as you only get 24 to 40 legendary materials, and when you look down the whole list there are plenty of different materials to go for, at least when you consider the legendary, so you're unlikely to get the one that you need, and this should be seen as just a little bonus. So we've covered everything here today. It's not the perfect way of looking at it, but I just wanted to explain some of the things that are overpriced, some of the things that are good value, and some of the things you should be looking to aim for. If you want me to make another Magic Well video, then obviously leave a comment down below. At least when the next Magic Well comes out, make sure you leave a comment if there's any items you want me to compare between. And yes, thank you for watching. Hopefully this has been beneficial for you guys watching this, even though it's only been like 2 days left remaining. And yes, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for watching this video.